So what are we to do with people who resist the change that their leadership has decided upon? The strategic change that leadership has said is essential to the company's success. The corporate culture change they've said will make life better. How can we get those people enthusiastic about it, ready to rally around and do what needs to be done? Am I sounding a little cynical and maybe snarky? Good, because a lot of what's talked about regarding resistance to change tends to lean into the rah-rah, all positive perspective on change, with the idea that being relentlessly upbeat about what's happening will encourage and motivate people to get on board and make it happen. Yeah, okay, we need to explain why the change is a good thing. Of course we do, but we also need to be realistic about how people really do react to change and how people hate being shoved into rah-rah mode when they're not sure there's anything to rah-rah about. Who am I to be saying this? I'm Grace Judson, and I'm a change leadership expert. I work with companies on their change initiatives and with managers and leaders to help them lead those change initiatives, because change leadership is not the same as change management. Change management is the tactical, practical aspect of change, the plans and timelines and resources. Change leadership is the people aspect of change, helping get people through the inevitable resistance and into willing participation in the change project. So, let's look at this question of resistance to change, because it's one of the main reasons why change initiatives of any and all sorts struggle or aren't fully implemented or sustainable, or they fail outright. Here is the simple thing about resistance to change. It is almost always some sort of anxiety or fear. Could be anxiety around what the change means for their job security, whether or not they'll like the new situation, what they'll have to learn or do differently, whether they'll be working with different people and how that will work out, what will happen if the change doesn't work out and it fails, what it means to their work-life balance. I could go on, but you do get the point, I'm sure, at this point. There's another very interesting and important thing that's often overlooked in thinking about change and resistance to change, and that's the question of identity. People, teams, departments, and companies all have a sense of identity, and we humans like to have a sense of confidence and foundation in that identity. Especially these days, employees want to know the purpose and meaning of the company they work for, and those are components of identity. If a change seems likely to change that identity, then it will often be resisted, often unconsciously. With all that said, what can you do about it? I offer a brief guide, The 6 Steps to Overcoming Colleagues' Resistance to Change. It's on my website. The link is below with links to some other resources. That guide goes into more detail than I can in this short video, so by all means, click that link, pick up the guide. The short answer, suitable for video viewing, is that you need to be intentional about understanding what's causing the resistance. Different people will resist for different reasons, so don't just assume. Consider what you might be experiencing if you were in their shoes, and ask questions to validate that theory. Don't ever tell someone what they're feeling. Instead, suggest that they might be feeling, for instance, concern about the potential workload of the change, or that they're going to have to learn a new technology, and so on. Listen to them when they respond, so you can then make sure you really do understand, because only then can you address their concerns, whether it's by promising to help managing their workload, explaining the types of training that will be available, or whatever it is that's relevant and responsive to what they're telling you. And I hope I don't need to say that. Of course, you will then make sure that you follow through. Okay, above all, remember that feeling anxious, concerned, or afraid about change is both normal and not something that people want to be called out about. These feelings can be embarrassing or even shameful for some people, so always talk with them one-on-one rather than in a group, and use conditional language, such as, I think you might be feeling a bit worried, and stuff like that, rather than you're afraid that, which will not go over well. One more thing, and then I'll end this video so you can go get that 6 steps guide. Don't tell people they have nothing to be worried about. That's a fast way to make them even more resistant, and it's a good way to destroy their trust in you as well. They believe they do have things to be concerned about with this change, and it's on you as the change leader to help them feel like those concerns are being addressed, not denied. Okay, that's it for today. If anything here needs clarification, by all means, drop me a comment down below. And if you had an aha moment, I'd love for you to leave a comment about that as well. I always come back to answer comments. And if this was helpful, don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you'll know when I release another video. And meanwhile, go forth, help your people work through their feelings of resistance to change. And that includes you, by the way, because even though you may be the change leader, you still may very well be feeling some resistance about it all. So, take care.